Good morning and welcome to the Special Performance Review and Scrutiny Committee meeting. We have apologies from Councillor Montgomery and Councillor Pottinger. Are there any other?
Councillor De Vink.
The order of business is as per the agenda. Are there any declarations of interest? Okay, thank you. Now move on to item 4, performance reports 4.4a, Midlothian Council. Kenneth.
Thank you, Chair. This is the first quarter report for 2014-15, and as in previous reports, the performance is set out under the, the 5 themes of the Single Midlothian Plan. I think there's some very positive aspects to this as evidence of innovation and improved outcomes across a number of service areas, perhaps most notably in children's services, where the reconfiguration of residential care, as we discussed yesterday, is providing better outcomes for children as well as significant savings, but also in health and social care, in libraries, where the Council won the Library of the Year award. I think in our approach to dealing with welfare reform, we've done some very good work, and we're seeing the new development in terms of new schools, new waste facilities, high performance in a range of areas. Some of these relating to the Council alone, and some of these relating to our work in partnership with others. We're also very conscious of areas where we still need to make further improvement. Positive destinations. You might recall we're actually the most improved council over the last 5 years, but we've still got quite a long way to go in that in terms of our performance relative to others. Educational attainment, again, improvement, and I think the new team in education provides basis for a lot of confidence there, but we still have a long way to go. And I think also our performance in terms of revenues comparatively is not as good as it should be, and it needs to improve. The report sets out that we do have very significant challenges ahead. These are not unfamiliar to you. Most obviously, I suppose, the financial challenge. It's not going away. I think it's going to probably intensify in future years. So we need to be delivering on transformation. We need to be taking difficult decisions in terms of service provision. There's going to be big challenges for our workforce, and I think by and large our workforce are reacting very positively and very well to the challenges, but there's a lot more challenges ahead. And of course we've also got issues such as health and social care integration, and just the degree of change that means for the Council is very, very significant. I suppose the other thing I'd say in terms of challenges which we're very aware of, even if it doesn't come out particularly clearly in this report, is we know that there's a significant inequality of outcomes across Midlothian in terms of attainment, in terms of employment, in terms of health, and a whole series of other factors. And whilst many people in Midlothian are by any terms doing very well, there's others for whom these outcomes remain stubbornly poor in terms of health, employment, educational attainment, etc. Some of these have been exacerbated by the welfare reform changes, and I think it's particularly these are people that are particularly reliant on the Council for services and support and care. And I just think we need to be very acutely aware of the fact that even if the overall picture in relation to some indicators and some aspects of our service is positive, there's still people in our communities for whom outcomes are not good enough, and we need to be focused on that.
Thanks, Kenneth. Any questions or comments? None at all? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kenneth.
Thanks, Chair. Just starting at the top, food waste collection service to trade waste customer now in place. We've now got a private company in place offering this to the trade, probably starting in the next couple of weeks. Second one down there, work being undertaken to promote recycling, and the recycling centres concluded, and we're now looking at starting to undertake some of the work to encourage for the flatted properties to get involved in recycling as well. Next one down is revise the street cleaning regime. Revised street cleaning regime introduced. That was reviewed in August. We got approval to buy new bins for that. So this now mirrors the route collection. So we're now street cleaning on a more regular basis, and we've got now 2 people on the dog fouling and bin rota to encourage that. Next one down, delivery of food and residual waste treatment facilities. Aluna continuing with the construction of the food waste facility at Miller Hill. We've made good progress on that. And that will be ready and probably to open at the end of 2015 to tie in with the domestic waste collections. Network Rail progressing the construction of the access road bridge abutments. That is to allow the zero waste project to continue, and they're making good progress on that. Discussions are nearing conclusion with SEPA to reduce the MBT requirements for residual facilities, and I'm told that's mechanical biological treatment. And this will allow us to reduce the amount of filtering and segregation of waste for that to be happening in that particular facility. Road network, new LED street lighting programme is being undertaken, utilising council and external funding. Last year we installed approximately over 915 LED lanterns, and this year we're hoping to do just under 1,000. The work is still ongoing at Tynehead to prepare the road prior to the Network Rail works are going up at Tynehead there. Network Rail have had their insurers out there looking at the condition of the road, and they have prepared a report for their client Network Rail, and we'll be looking to have a look at that report and see what contribution that they would be willing to make to repair of the road up there. Land Services, the Green Flag, it's got the Green Flag Award anticipated. It's actually been confirmed that they got it. So we now have 4 facilities with the Green Flag Award. That's Vogrie, Roslyn Glen, Springfield Mill, and now Kings Park. The Bonnerig Skate Park is progressing. Again, the update on that is it's actually now complete with a celebration for the community planned for the near future for that. And work has actually started on the Newton Grange, and that's due probably to be complete in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Travel and Fleet Services, NHS Shared Service Initiative. It was due to start at the end of August. There's been a couple of minor staffing issues, but they are looking to trial a service from the Royal Edinburgh for discharged patients only, probably between the hours of 10 and 2 p.m, so that is about to kick off in the very near future. Risk, health and safety. The work is ongoing to reduce health and safety as risks within the operation, in fact within all council services. And the final one there, positive destinations. There has been a series of workshops with the schools. I think in total there's been 7 workshops run with the schools, and we've been looking at running mock interviews, how to fill out application forms for job, etc. And we've also run an employment event on the 14th of June, which 22 businesses attend, and I think over 300 school kids. So that's it, Chair. Thank you.
Questions, comments? Ian?
Thank you, Derek. I think Derek would also join me in congratulating you on the Bonnerig Skate Park, which is very popular, and it's a tremendous addition to the town. Can I just ask a question on item 1, the revised street cleaning? You mentioned about the bins, new bins. Can you provide an update on where we are with the policy for the introduction of new bins, which was, I think, referred back because there were some minor amendments to be made to it?
Was that, Councillor Batson, with regard to the scoring system? Yeah. My recollection from this committee, I think it was in April, was the policy was approve of 1 or 2 amendments. It was also to apply within land services, and it's also incumbent on us to report back to the next regular meeting of this committee, and that's in plan to come forward at the next meeting with a number of issues arising from that report that was considered in September, so we suggest, in April, so I suggest we cover it then.
Right. Thanks. It's just that I've certainly received representations from a few people in my ward who've been asking about new bins can they be placed in certain places? And I said that we're waiting for this to come forward so that we could then perhaps progress it.
Can I suggest I have a look at that one offline and come back to committee?
Yeah, I've got to say, John, it was my recollection that we were going to come back with that we were looking, rather than having land services and waste services having bins in different areas, we were going to come back quite quickly with that and look at it. It's something that seems to have been going on forevermore, so I think we could actually do with getting some detail, but I'm aware, obviously, Ricky and Phil Riddell aren't here to answer questions on that, so it maybe we were just actually circulating members to let them know where they are with that. Alec?
Just really for a question, Chairman, for either Neil or John. It's regarding the food recycling plant at Millerhill, or Whitehill, wherever you want to call it. I'm a wee bit disappointed it's not going to be completed to the end of 2015. I would have thought it would have been quicker than that. See, included in the plans, Neil, I mean, there was talk about taking an access road off the one opposite Queen Margaret Rose, Queen Margaret University. Is that still part of the plan for to take that slip road, so there would be no traffic going through any communities whatsoever?
And firstly, dealing with the food facility, I know you say it's disappointing it's 2015. The footprint of that facility is absolutely massive. I was down there last week, and it's a major construction. It is colossal. And footprint size, it probably will be, but it's a major. In terms of the road off the A1, you're referring to the Midlothian side of the A1 bypass. I don't think that's in the immediate zero waste plans, but there was discussions going on involving ourselves, East Lothian Council and Shoffrey, and there's actually a meeting tomorrow relating to the development of the Queen Margaret Uni, so I think it's tied in with there, but again, I'll check with colleagues and let committee know if that's okay.
Jim?
Just a couple of minor things. Just on page 18, it looks like there's been a considerable drop-off in the percentage invoices paid within 30 days, down to less than 80% from 93. Just wondering if we know why that was. It does say there was a particular problem. It doesn't say what that problem was. And not something that's on here, but I've noticed going up Rosalind Glen that there does seem to be quite a bit of movement in the road again, where we've recently repaired it. I'm just wondering, what stage we're at with that one.
I'll deal with the invoice and I'll ask Neil to deal with the Glen, if that's okay. In terms of the invoices, it was actually came down to staff resources that processed the invoices for the goods and services within Ricky's area. There was an actual blip in one area. We've put resources in and sorted it. And overall, the council invoice payment performance from the Chief Executive's report is touching 95%. In terms of that one, I'm actually extremely disappointed because Ricky's area within his 5 services was actually one of the best performing in terms of invoice payment historically, and it was just a localised blip. It appeared in the first quarter, has now been sorted. It came down to resources. Also, purchase to pay, moving to electronic processing invoices, will speed up the transactions going forward.
Can I just ask, do managers have heads of service or whatever have access to information that alerts them to that kind of thing going wrong, as opposed to waiting till now? I mean, was it rectified part way through the quarter, for instance, or was it only noticed at the tail end of it, or do we have systems in place that alert us to that kind of thing going wrong?
Yeah, what we've got an executive report. It takes about 3 seconds to run, and you can run it to specify any period, whether it's a week, a month, or a year. Internally, we run it every quarter, and that's how we notice the deterioration in the one area. And also, if performance goes below the 95% target, we feed it through Chief Exec's corporate management team. So we have got desktop systems. You just hit a button and you see how you're performing, and you can actually drill it right down to the individual invoice. And the reason I know quite a bit about it is I spec'd it after difficulties that were raised in here previously about our poor invoice performance, so it's there.
The problem, with, as you've just described it there, is with systems like that, you run them very quickly. It's the point is when you run them, and if you're not running them till the end of a quarter, you could have resolved the problem earlier if you were running it regular. That was the kind of question that I suppose I'm asking you.
Sorry, I probably misinterpreted the question. We run it within the division every month, and we take it in our divisional management team, and if it's not happening, we go chasing.
With regard to the second part of your question, yeah, we have noticed that there has been a crack appeared just out with the section that we reinforced with we put in concrete. The section just slightly downhill, if that's what you want to call it, of that has started to crack again. So we have been back to the designer, because it was a design and build contract, and we've asked him to come up to examine the site, to come up with proposals to rectify that remedial works just to the south of where we did the repair. But yes, we are aware of it. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I'm not sure whether it's John or Neil, but on the food waste collection service, the trade waste, I think it says we have got a private contractor on board for that. Did we consider keeping that in-house due to the fact that at some stage in the near future we're going to have to roll this out to the public? What was the thought process between going to the private sector, or have I picked that up wrong?
My understanding it was part of a tender. I'm not too familiar with the details, but it's a small scale part of the operation. And again, I can get details once I speak to the operational staff if you want, leader.
I ain't the leader, brother. We're going to be with the private sector. We should be able to answer basic questions like that here, guys. And there's 2 or 3 questions being asked here today that we're not answering. I don't know what officers sitting here doing nothing, but the reality is, if there's staff coming along here, you're going to have to be able to answer the basic questions. If we went out to the private sector and gave them a tender for food waste, then there are different things that have been asked here today that we should be able to answer. So we really need to make sure that we can. Can we get the answer circulated to members as to what the food waste collection service entails, who's the company that's done it, and why we decided to go out with the council to do it? Keep in mind there's a council policy that's never been revoked that states where the council can actually carry out the service itself, it will do so. And I know that was about 4 years ago that we decided to do that, but that's in fact still has never been revoked, and I don't think would be likely to be revoked, because I think most political parties in this council would say the same. If you can do it in-house, do it in-house, because we seem to, no matter what the public or the press seem to think, I still think we do it most times better. Is there any other questions on this paper?
Just to say on the basis of what you're saying there, that I wouldn't want that to be waiting until the next meeting either. I think it's important that with the other issues that you raised like that, I think we need to get that information circulated to us as soon as.
Okay, can we agree to then move on to item 4B2, Finance and Integrated Services?
Okay, thank you. I'll start with the financial stewardship achievements. We have completion of the 2013-14 unaudited financial statement and the 2013-14 financial outturn reports to Council, both under robust scrutiny. Further reports to Council on financial prospects 15-16 and 16-17 are showing significant savings and updated transformation savings. The challenges that we've got going forward are to refine the budget projections, complete statutory financial statements by the 30th of September 2014, prepare financial monitoring projections for 2014-15 and work with managers concerning financial discipline to release the 2014-15 underspend, and financial support for the Council Transformation Programme. Our other challenges are to increase financial stewardship, working in a climate of reduced budgets, and increased service provision. Moving on now to procurement achievements. We're working on the 2014 procurement capability assessment, to hope to save to secure savings throughout procurement. And the challenges and actions are to demonstrate and deliver savings through procurement and keep delivering the purchase to pay project. We aim to deliver a robust contract and supplier tool, and we're working closely with the Scottish Government on that. Moving on now to the People Strategy achievements. We had approval and implementation of the management review. People Strategy 2 is being developed and will be presented to Council in autumn of this year. And My Future has worked successfully alongside the management review. And you'll see the figures there with 44 entering into My Future, 22 in jobs, 6 in VSER and 26 on placement. Savings that have been well worked through. And VSER have supported the necessary reduction in employees as part of this efficiency savings. Okay, I'll move on now to transformation change. 7 strands to the transformation programme, securing financial savings, and they're being monitored. The savings have been monitored through the delivery plan. Revised strategy sign-off at Council in June 2014. The Council-wide management structure approved at Council May 2014 and implemented on the 1st of July 2014. And we're moving on to focus on the ISS population, developing the customer first work. Challenges and actions in connection with transformational change. Ongoing work with the Strategic Leadership Group and Business Transformation Steering Group to address the budget gap, and scrutiny and monitoring of all parts of the programme are ongoing. There's a major task ahead of us in aligning health and social care and school catchment review as part of this work.
Thank you. Questions, comments? None? Everybody happy? Okay, you seem to be getting the easy time for the first appearance. Okay, thanks for that. Thank you. Can we now move on to the last item of today is property and facilities management. Gary?
Thanks, Chair. Brief overview of the report. In asset management rationalisation, whilst the report says things are going on in the second phase, we've actually started the work now in the tail end of the Fairfield House project. The last section there is now complete, and we've got staff schedules and moves all set up for the future. We're still looking at medium-term feasibilities for the depot and the contact centre. We're gathering the information required to create that brief, and at the same time looking at the money that could be released from land sales that could attribute the values towards those projects. We are planning a seminar, and I believe that's been circulated for the 7th of October, to look at the future of an HQ provision, a new facility, and the impact that would have on Dalkeith Town Centre. And that will obviously be forthcoming with more detail at that time. The Phase 2 housing programme continues. We've got 2 sites ongoing at Pennycook, where we had advance works to deal with Japanese knotweed, which is a contaminant that needed to be removed. And the Jackson Street site, which was held back to look at a commercial opportunity potential there, which didn't materialise, unfortunately. So that is now progressing as housing as was programmed previously. The 3 following sites are identified, and again those are going through the process of design and then through the planning process. One in Lonehead, one in Bonnyrigg, and the final one in Gorebridge, which deals with the Green Hall site, which is subject to the ongoing discussions for new buyers and the decant from there as well. In sport and leisure, we've had a good summer in terms of our membership there. We introduced the junior and student memberships back in the late spring, and the effect of that through the summer, coupled with some of the annual programmes that we put in place, the Fit and 8 and the likes, to encourage membership. We've seen a good retention of those new members this year, which has made our Tone Zone income at its all-time high. The fees and charges introduction and the grant reviews from Council's decision recently is being monitored. It's been introduced and we're now dealing with that on a live basis, and discussions ongoing with clubs and groups that are using our facilities. That will continue, and we'll monitor that right through to the Christmas period, with a view to giving the feedback at that point through the financial reporting. Legal action, which I've talked about previously in this meeting, about the recovery of works that we had to continue beyond the original contract at the Snow Sports Centre, where we had drainage difficulties there. That's been successful. We did challenge the consultants and challenge them legally to the point where we gained compensation for our works that we had to carry out and the loss of revenue from the non-starting of the tubing runs up there. The programmes that we have with the Ageing Well, MAC, Get Going, Active Schools and Sports Development, we had full summer programmes there, and just prior to the summer programme starting, there was a nervousness about the funding that we were to secure from Sports Scotland and the likes. That, I'm pleased to say, has been secured, and will continue with those programmes for the foreseeable future. The emerging challenges that we have continue around the management restructure. We've seen that bedding in. We've had holiday periods and the likes, but that now leads on to the next stage with the services each being reviewed as well for efficiencies. New Battle High School, we brought to the Council's attention the Stage 1 report. That's now complete, and we're into the Stage 2, which is the detailed design and the market testing to achieve the best value we possibly can. The difficulty we had with the contractor and the developer there, we're working in partnership with them on a lot better footing now than what we had before. There's been huge amounts of effort put into that relationship and them demonstrating best value along the lines of what we were expecting. So they are coming to see our side of it a lot clearer and producing results at this point in time. So thanks.
Thanks, Gary. Questions, comments? Alec?
Just briefly, Gary, it's regarding the closures of the offices in Dalkeith Town Centre, and I can further down the line, Melville Housing, which is also based in the town centre, is going to be moving to the Corn Exchange. So it's going to leave up an awful lot of office space in the Dalkeith Town Centre. Have we looked at, or should we look at, whether that should be, could it be rented out to the private sector, or any contingency plans in place, what will happen to that property in the future?
As I alluded to earlier on, we are bringing the Dalkeith Town Centre into focus at the seminar, when we're looking at the potential headquarters or not. But yes, there are plans now to close certain offices in Dalkeith. The main ones that are affected this time round are the ones in Esdale Court and Jarnac Court. They're not particularly big, and they're not particularly well positioned either. However, you're right, the Melville Housing Association offices being next door creates an opportunity, and the estates team are looking into that at the present time. I think there's a wider picture to look at in the Dalkeith Town Centre, and that is the use categories of these buildings and what is attractive to the paying public at the end of the day, private organisations or otherwise. So we do continue to monitor that, but we need to bring to everybody's attention and get decisions made on what we want to do with these buildings forevermore, really.
The reason I'm raising it, because I know there's some small firms, architect firms, etc., who are renting small premises. I mean, one of the companies I can, it used to be a one-bedroom flat, and they've converted that into an office. And I think they would be quite keen, if I had any kind of size of offices, like if they could move to bigger premises, depending on and pay rent, etc., because they're already paying rent for the profit they've got to do.
Yeah, as I say, if there's opportunities that we can create, the estates team are not just sort of putting up a for sale board or looking at a for rent board going up. We're trying to look at what is the best use that we could capitalise on. Now, the likes of the Iron Mill site that was closed in phase 1, it's recently been sold, but it was sold with the benefit of us taking it through a different use category. And we talked to the planners about that, and we created 4 different scenarios before we put it on the market. When we put it on the market, we actually realised in excess of, well, it was about 15% over the asking price as a result of that, in a fairly difficult market. So we're not just lazily putting up a for sale sign, we're trying to look at alternative uses. And if there's other businesses or interested parties, I'd be more than happy to see that and just have early discussions about it before we put that on the market.
Thanks, Gary. Any other questions?
Just to ask about the legal action at the ski centre with the drainage works. We've no mentioned legal costs. When we say we're successful, did we manage to get legal costs and things like that for the company?
Pleased to say that was incorporated within the exercise that we're doing. So it was their payment of our costs was included in the negotiations here. Absolutely.
Ian?
Thanks, Derek. Yeah, it's the emerging challenges with the management restructure. I'm really looking for reassurance here because it doesn't read too comfortably, if you see what I mean. A considerable impact on the workload, and it looks like there might be a risk to frontline services. Is this a temporary thing? Are we getting through the management restructure, things bedding down, or is there a risk that people might be overloaded and they've been told they're not going to get any more resources and frontline services will suffer?
No, I think what I'm trying to bring to everybody's attention is that we have gone through a management restructure. Now that's unsettling, regardless of what the outcome is. But what we've managed to do is continue with the frontline service provision that we've always said we would deliver. I think the standard of what we've been delivering has not changed whatsoever. In fact, it's probably got better if you look at the reports that we've been achieving. All I'm trying to say there is it's an ongoing process. We've gone through the 3rd tier and we've gone through the 4th tier. We now have to look at the team structures within that, and that will have an effect. But it's on our it's within our focus as to what we've got to deliver in terms of our priorities and services, as well as dealing with the staff resource that we need to do that. Bearing in mind we've got that overriding agenda that's been described in terms of financial difficulties we've got to deliver against.
Any other questions or comments? Gary, you now have the chalice of estates in that way now. I didn't see any proposed changes in this paper to see how you're going to deal with estates and to bring it into sort of the area that I think elected members have wanted for years, and that's when we have buildings that will have surplus to requirement. We seem to hang on to them till the very last minute and then declare them as surplus if we ever do declare them as surplus. We didn't seem to ever have a robust sales team, for want of a better word. What changes are you looking at there to try and bring us into the areas where we didn't see buildings shutting, and then we have the problem with security, insurance and all that on them for a long period of time before we can offload them?
Whilst it's not explicit in any report here, I can assure you that is going on in the background. I mean, we've got about 9 different disposals on our radar already, and they're all occupied. Things like the Dundas buildings, which is in our focus for the future closure there. We're already talking to developers about potential uses for that site. Now, that is very much exploratory discussions. We can't obviously have discussions on a one-to-one basis. It'd have to go to the marketplace. But the intention is to get it on the market prior to leaving the building, and that we have created an offer subject to vacant possession scenario. Now, developers don't always like that because they don't know for certain when they're going to take possession. And you have to vacate the building before you can actually transfer it, obviously. So there is that catch-22, but I can assure you that we're now looking at a programme well in advance of vacating the buildings to try and get that scenario where we don't have that ongoing security problem, and we have dealt with either clearing the site and marketing on the basis of a vacant site, or indeed vacating the building, knowing full well that we've got interested parties behind that. I'm not saying that will happen instantaneously, because there's a legacy there to deal with, but we have now started that structure to put that in place.
I'm kind of baffled as to how it can happen immediately. If I was getting rid of my house in January this year, I would put it up on for sale just now with an entry date being in January next year. And I didn't understand how we can't do the same, and you can actually put into the legal pack when vacated between a period of time. So I'm not sure how we can just simply do that. And I've given the examples, and I've given them before. For example, when we opened Lastwood High School, we had the Bonnyrigg Public Halls lying there, and it wasn't until everybody had moved out did we put a for sale notice up. There was nothing whatsoever to stop us putting a for sale notice up 6 months beforehand, because we knew Lastwood High School was going to open on time, and we could have had a lot more interested parties. Instead of that, we waited till the building was empty and then stuck a for sale sign up. I think the elected members around here, when we've got that, are looking for the for sale sign to be up 6 months in advance, so is it once we empty it, it's just a case of handing it straight over.
Sorry if I didn't make myself clear, the subject to vacant possession deals with that entry date at the point where hopefully it will be mutually beneficial. So your house scenario, absolutely right. If we know that we are vacating the property in summer next year, the intention would be to market it earlier, so that it would be subject to that vacant possession, and at that point it would transfer to the party who would purchase it. The legacy of what we've done in the past we are addressing, and that's to avoid the situation for the likes of the Polton Hall pavilion going forward. We don't get into a situation where we have a redundant building and then putting up a sign. We're trying to do that in advance, Derek.
Thank you. Ian?
Just very briefly, coming on to the Dundas buildings you mentioned there now, there's a possibility, and we might be talking years away, that St Mary's School might be relocated, in which case the whole of that plot of land would then become available, and it seems to me, I'm no expert, but the footprint of the Dundas building site would actually become worth more as part of the larger plot. Now, I understand we don't want the Dundas buildings boarded up for 2 or 3 years till we decide what to do. Has that been taken into consideration? Is there an option to sell the whole plot of land, or are we just going with the Dundas buildings?
You're absolutely right. The combined site does have an intrinsic better value. You get common infrastructure and the like, so you get more on the footprint. It's a catch-22. I mean, what I can't do is satisfy the example that's just been raised by the chair there, and market that property early if the other half of the site isn't available to market. However, discussions are ongoing to look at that scenario and try and avoid the two sites coming onto the market at the same time. That's not something that's in my gift to deliver. That's something that would have to come back to council in terms of a catchment area review and the likes. But we are in discussions with our colleagues within education, and if that scenario arises, we will maximise the potential on that site.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for your attendance. I'll see most of you this afternoon at 2 o'clock.